All right, at this point, hopefully you have watched the introduction on how Honorlock works with Blackboard Ultra, but I'm going to talk specifically about some things that students get hung up on. And one of those things is accessing the actual exam, specifically with the entering the password part and adding work to exams. So first up, if you see this screen, it means you clicked on this practice test in Module 0. But at this point, it's asking for a password before you can begin. At no point during this semester will we give you the password directly. That is where Honorlock comes into play. So I'm going to navigate back to Blackboard, and the very first thing you'll see on the whole course is Honorlock exam list. When you click on that, it will list all of the setup tests. Right now I've enabled this to show up early, but all of them should be available from day one. And we are going to launch Honorlock. Through here, this is where you watch the video demonstration on all of the verification steps. So you're going to go through those steps to verify, and at the end of that process, it will say input password, and that's when you go back to the test itself and then have Honorlock put in that password for you. Okay, once that is complete, you're able to actually start. So I'm going to walk you through next a couple of things I'm looking for here. So on your introduction screen of all of your tests this semester, it's going to give you some basic overview of some instructions, but also it'll list out the resources that you can use during the test. And so what I like to do is open those to begin with. This first option will be a floating sidebar that you can have from one screen to another, and the second one opens it in a separate tab, and usually that's the one I go with. So this works just like a regular calculator, but you use your keyboard to type in the items that you need with regular operations. There are some introductory videos to Desmos as well. So now that we're good with that, we can go to the first question. There are two ways to navigate through questions on MyOpenMath. You can use these arrows here or the drop-down itself to go from one question to another. So then the first question on every single test is going to be these expectation instructions. They will look pretty similar every single time, but it just ensures that you remember all the things that you learned in the intro videos, even when it comes to the last few weeks of the semester. Okay. Now, the next thing we're going to talk about is adding work to the test. So you'll notice at the bottom here, and on the bottom of every problem, there's a button you can press for add work. So I'm going to go to this next one where it's talking about fractions, and we want to change it to a decimal. Okay, so if I want to click on this add work, 5/8 as a decimal. Maybe that's a decimal that I'm not familiar with. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into Desmos and do 5 divided by 8, and I just use the slash button on my keyboard, okay, and it will change that to a decimal for me. So it's 0.625. So then I would write here 0.625, but then in my work I would say, because I can easily write this, typed in 5 divided by 8 in Desmos. Okay, and that's one way to add work, is just typing out what you're doing if you can easily do that. Okay, the second option, let's just look at another one here. If you want to add work a different way, so this is another one where maybe it's easy to do it, but let's suppose we were doing this last one that had multi-steps, part A and part B. We could also add work by instead showing a picture of our written work as we're going through. So here you can attach a file either using the paperclip option or attach a picture using that landscape icon. But the caveat here is you can only do that after you have submitted your exam. So what I'm going to do here is we're going to hit submit and end. And then I gave you this little hint here. It says you can close Honorlock at this point after you've submitted the exam, and then you have 20 minutes to take pictures of your work and add them to each problem. So we're going to go up here, click submit and end. Okay, because I know I skipped problem. And now this is counting down. I have 20 minutes to finish. Okay, but it's really important. You're still not going to be able to click on these and access your computer files until you close out of Honorlock. So once you're done with the exam, you're okay to shut that Honorlock down and go ahead and submit. So I give you 20 minutes. That way you have time to take pictures on your phone, send them to yourself either using a drive or an online storage system of some sort, or you can just email them to yourself, save them on your computer, and then upload them that way. Okay. Make sure you submit work or a separate picture for each problem. If you submit all your work for one problem, I will not be able to see those on the other questions because I grade them one question at a time. Okay, so that's what this practice is all about, making sure you get the hang of doing those items for me. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out via email.